Hey people, welcome to the channel, and continuing with the topic of the survival kit, the supplies you want to store in case of emergencies. One of the most overlooked yet one of the more crucial supplies we have is, of course, water. And there's several misconceptions, misunderstandings, and just underestimating how important water is. Water is critical to stay alive, disaster or not, no matter what happens. And yet, if there's an event that could be anything from an earthquake to sabotage to a drought to whatever scenario you're dealing with, you do not want to be the one left without water. You will go nuts without water. Food, you're going to be fine. Food in general, as critical as it is, and we all understand, but it's crazy that people so often focus more on food than water. They just assume that every single time you turn the faucet, water, clean, healthy, safe to drink water will flow out of it. Don't underestimate the importance of water. You want to store a gallon of water per person per day. I will actually make that 2 gallons of water per person per day if you expect to use a toilet when there's no water, right? That's going to be easily a gallon of water that goes down, that you flush literally down the toilet, and you don't want to be throwing that water down the toilet. You probably want to have a bigger container somewhere in your yard or somewhere else where you can have that water. Now, that may not be the case. If you live in a tiny condo or apartment, you may have to get creative with finding solutions. But let's get to this. The 5 most common mistakes made when storing water. Number 1 is not storing water at all, or underestimating its importance, or not having enough. If you think that with 3 days of water, 3 days worth of a gallon per person per day, you're okay, I guess, I would feel a little bit more comfortable with a week, maybe even better, 2 weeks of water. At the very least, 2 weeks of water so as to keep you alive. To that, I would add the water you need for washing clothes, using the toilets. So as I said before, make that double. But you would be amazed by how many people just don't understand and underestimate the critical importance of having water. Number 2, overestimating. So the first one is underestimating the importance of water and not having enough, or assuming you'll be able to fill in a river. No, this is physical water that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that lake in my property. I don't care about that, because if you're injured, if you're hurt, if there's a natural, nuclear, or whatever disaster that contaminates that water, and believe me, it does happen. Even with a volcanic eruption in Patagonia, the entire lakes were not available for drinking water, even though it was super clean, healthy, perfect water. All of a sudden, all covered by volcanic ash. And I'm just giving you one example of many. You can throw there industrial accidents, disasters, and so much more. Number 2, overestimating your capacity of filtering and making water safe to drink. It is a lot harder than people think. Even if you filter water, if there's some contaminant, some toxic, some chemical in the water, it's still filtered, but it's still not safe to drink. Adding a couple drops of bleach. Remember, it has to be bleach without any smells and perfumes or additives, pure bleach. Yes, that will kill most of the organic life forms that can be harmful in water. It's going to be a couple drops of bleach per, what is it, like a liter per water, right? But it's only doing that. It is not removing the harmful chemicals in water. Especially, for example, in floods, ironically enough, it may be extremely difficult to come across water that's not contaminated by oil, gasoline, and whatever the hell it is that came up with that flood. All right, so don't think that, I just have a filter, I'll just filter it. No. Filtering works, but for certain things. And you can combine filtering with adding, that's potassium permanganate. That's always a good idea to have. If it has a slight little pink tint to it, that's probably going to be safe to drink in terms of some of these harmful organisms in water. But again, you will not remove the toxic stuff that is there, especially if it's going to be chemicals. Number 3, watch out for how you store your water. It happened to me. This is talking about experience I had many, many years ago. I'm talking about Argentina circa 2001, 2002. I had several of bottles, not unlike that one, heading across, in the house in different places. And there was one that I was not checking very often, and that one was not as well protected. I think it was pretty dark though in there. Whatever the case is, I went and checked on my supply of water, and I found that it was like half of them were full of green stuff. Algae had grown inside. okay? So careful with light. Light will make algae grow, so keep it in a dark place, but also make sure it's a place you can actually go and check out, because you don't know what may be growing in that water of yours. Water does not expire. It's been around for millions of years just fine. It is the stuff that goes inside the water that contaminates it or grows inside that may be harmful. But careful with algae. Little tip, if you're storing bottles of water like that, maybe add a couple more drops of bleach in it just in case there's something you want to avoid growing inside, okay? So yeah, make sure you do that. Number 4, the water that is intended for other uses. When you talk about a gallon of water per person per day, it's mostly about drinking the water, cooking with the water. But again, if you're gonna flush toilets, maybe that's not the water you wanna have. Maybe for that you have a big container in the yard somewhere else, and you have a bucket, and you pick water with the bucket from that place or from wherever it is that you're storing it. A nice tip is, as soon as you know there's gonna be problems, you may have a bathtub that you can fill up. I wouldn't suggest drinking water from your bathtub, right? Or even if you have a pool, right? You can just get water from the pool and flush the toilets with it. You don't wanna be the guy throwing mineral water down the toilet because you did not have water for these other uses. Number 5, different size of containers. So you can have bottles like that, or bigger jugs, or smaller ones. I suggest having also a big rain catching thing, or some of these bigger storage options for water. That's the water that's maybe for cleaning and toilets and whatnot, maybe taking a quick shower. But having different size of bottles like that one, and even smaller bottles, because maybe this is what you use for refilling something else or for preparing food, right? But what about brushing your teeth? For brushing your teeth, you want to have a small bottle, maybe a liter water bottle. Of course, when it comes to EDC and stuff like that, frequent use, I suggest going with steel. Steel is better. Water kept in a plastic jug like that, after a year or so, it will have a little bit of a plasticky taste. That's probably because there is plastic in the water that you probably don't want to go along and drink. If you have nothing else, by all means, go do that, maybe filter it, but I suggest rotating your water once a year. That's a pretty solid piece of advice, okay? Guys, again, if you want to learn more about all this stuff, you have the books in the links below. See you next time. Take care.